You the story, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm finna tell you the story.
Wait a minute. Let me get it too. I mean, if you're gonna be a real celebrity, let's let you really be a celebrity.
So we are here with Zee, her lovely mum. Dr. Richard is here with us, my brother Stuart, and Zee is the owner of the historic, beautiful Riverside Hotel, and she's about to tell us a few stories about this magnificent place.
Well, guys, hello, how you doing? All the way from Mississippi to Australia, I'm finna tell you a beautiful story of the Riverside Hotel. Let's get started. First of all, it was a black hospital. It was built in 1920. 1937, Bessie Smith actually passed away here when she was brought here from a bad accident in which she hurt her hand real bad, almost really severed it off, guys, and she actually bled to death. And my grandmother said she lasts maybe over into the night. G.T. Thomas was the owner of the hospital, and also the hospital was named after him. Once in 43, my grandmother looked at the building, so from 37 to 43, we know some kind of way it was closed down. So Mr. Thomas, she said, if you build me 10 rooms up and 10 rooms down, I'll be back. And of course she did come back in 1944. My grandmother walked in the door with my dad. He was only 4 years old at that time. And that's where the Home of the Blues started. But before I go any further, I'm going to talk to you about not just the Home of the Blues. You know, Ike was 16 when he came here. Ike was all over this place as a young man. Now, the first rock and roll song, which is called Rocky 88, was done down the street. This is when the lyrics got together. I just found this out from a gentleman who stopped by who knew my dad during the college years. He said, this guy named Raymond Hill and Jack Brisson was sitting out with this piece of paper writing. A lady across the street was visiting from apparently upstate Chicago somewhere, and she had a Rocky 88 car. And they said, all the Gene said what happened, they just got to write, they got so excited. Then they came down here with Ike, they got the tune together, got everything together, and said, told my grandmother, we got a hit, we know it. Left here, went down in the basement, boom, did whatever they needed to do, headed up to Sun Studio and recorded. And I tell people rock and roll was born right here where you sit.
Was.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
Correct.
Right here, Rocky
Correct.
88.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, the 8-room building, you had your office, you had your ladies' ward, you had the recovery room, you had where the surgeon would come and wash and prepare themselves, you had the men's ward, and of course you had the operating room, and you also had the morgue downstairs. That was it. Little bit.
It was cut off, right?
Cut off. So when you get a chance to go through the hallway, you will see this. All right? The first picture that you see when you walk into the door that is to your right is a picture of John Jr., which is John Kennedy's son. Wow. Now, he came here in 1991. And the reason why he came here in 1991, he had already talked to President Clinton about this place, and he wanted to know what in the heck was this man talking about, and he wanted to know for himself. So he came to Mississippi. He had already looked into what he wanted to do, and he wanted to stay here with my grandmother. Out of those nights he stays, guys, those 3 nights, he actually would come every morning and lay across my grandmother's bed and eat a bowl of cereal and listen to all the beautiful stories that was going on, okay? Now, he stayed down there where the green chair was. Billy, but he did get a chance to stay in the hotel because 4 o'clock in the morning, talking to my grandmother, you become her son. You're not going to walk down there tonight, boy. You're going to take that clean room across from Bessie Smith, and you will see that, right? And that's where he stays. So we call that the John room. Now, when you get a chance and you walk through the hallway, you're going to see people who lived here, stayed here, visited, or just passed through. All right? Now, when you get to the new part, I tell people that it's the original floor. So that floor is the footprints and the footsteps of your famous people like Sonny Boy Williams. Sonny Boy Williams is your first room after the bathroom, room number 4. He had a room upstairs and downstairs because he had 2 lady friends. Then you have the famous Muddy Waters room, which is number 5. Now, Muddy Water just didn't stay in that room. He stayed about in every room that you can imagine because he used to come to Clarksdale all the time to get away from the plantation. But his last stay, when he was getting ready, and my grandmother put him on a bus because he was too talented, and she said, boy, get out of here, and put him on the Greyhound bus station and sent him to Chicago. So I tell people that was the last room, that is the last place he laid his head, and that is the bed in which he laid his head on room 5, okay? Now we go down to Johnny Lee Hooker. Now Johnny Lee Hooker was the type of guy who loved to give a concert to my grandmother. My grandmother used to sit right there all the time with a green chair right there, okay? He used to turn around and take a ice cream cart or something, sit on. He'll play there for hours. And she would say, boy, aren't you tired yet? And you know what he used to say to her? Mom, I love playing with you. Now the room in which you stay in, room number 6, is Johnny Lee Hooker room, last room that he stayed before he went on. Now why not Clarksdale? Clarksdale was your biggest city in the Delta at this time, okay? Even your great musician came out of Clarksdale, even Rufus Thomas would tell you. So if you want to get this music thing just right, come to Clarksdale. Go there first before you go to Memphis, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago, or New York. You come here first. And that's what they did. Now, why not the Riverside Hotel? There wasn't too many other places to stay where that was black owned. But my grandmother was going to treat them like mom, like sons, and she was mom to all of them, okay? And the word got around. Ms. Zee Hill, she don't play, but you go there and she going to take care of you. Why I say she's going to take care of you? Because she knew how they struggled as musicians. She said, Z, they would get enough money to pay for their housing. They would practice and get themselves together and perform at these local juke joints out in the country. And then once they would do that, sometimes she would cook for them. Now, sometimes they didn't have enough money to buy a string for the guitars or whatever they may need. There was a music store right there beside Red, which is called Levine's Music Hall. And Mr. Levine knew my grandmother personally. He would say, boy, go down there, get what you need, and tell him to put it on my account, which she did. But guess what? When they left town, they never owed my grandmother a dime because what? That love was so strong, they paid. Okay? And then they knew that love was real because she understood. And a lot of people would come back. She had what? People from all over the world would come back in the 70s that time. They was writing about her in these books where it was over in Asia, Japanese or whatever, Japan. And they would come and she'd say, well, tell me what they're saying. And then she'd tell them what they're saying. And then they'd say, no, Mom, we want to hear the stories. All right? And then she'd say, do they come? And they would say to her, do they always do the boys come back? She said, well, I'll tell you what, those was my boys. They're going on with their careers. I understood. I was there for them. I understood their struggle. But yes and no, they did start here at the Riverside. She always would say that. Now, Ike Turner used to come back at times and visit her. And I tell people when he came back one time, guys, and my grandma said, boy, you know how you talk. You talk so much. Tell that young lady to come in, and guess who that was? That was Tina Turner, and she laid across my grandmother's bed. Then there's more stories, guys. You got Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was a roofer. Sam Cooke was sung with the Soldiers. He sung at every black church that is located on Martin Luther King Drive, what we used to call 4th Street. My mother used to actually follow him as a little girl. He came back and performed at Higgins High when she was 11th grade, and boy, turned Clarksdale out. You know what I'm saying? Then we got Howlin' Wolf. He even came back. My mom saw him perform. Mabel Stables, Paul Stables, Blind Boys of Alabama, Pine Top Pikins, Robert Nighthouse, in which we actually have his suitcase because he was something like a flashy guy, and he and Pine Top Pikins was going on a gig, and Pine Top Pikins said, hey boy, you got to leave some of that stuff. It's just too much. And he never did come back and get the suitcase, but we actually have the suitcase now. We don't have the clothes that was in there, but we do have the suitcase. We got Duke Ellington, guys, and ain't no telling who else. And C.L. Franklin, Aretha Franklin daddy, when he used to come around from Memphis and he would preach. But I tell you what, Aretha Franklin did come and sing in my church when she was a little girl, and she was a very small little girl, and if they stayed overnight, they probably stayed here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are just a few of the people who have stayed at the Riverside, and now I have who?
Mark and Stuart.
Mark and Stuart from Australia. And
Absolutely.
I'd like to tell you guys you're welcome anytime at the Riverside, okay?
Well, Zee, on behalf of Stuart and myself, thank you so much and also to Richard as well, for making this a dream come true for both of us. And thank you so much, and lovely meeting y'all.
You're welcome, baby.
And especially you, pretty lady over there. Nice meeting you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome, baby. You're so welcome. I'm Mr. Prentice.